That's why we didn't talk about it.
Thank
because
you for doing
we
that
were doing
for me.
that with your host
That was so sweet, because Andrew knows I love CoQ10. CoQ10, I know you do too.
Yes.
It is one of Andrew's absolute top sellers, top reorder product as well. But his Coenzyme Q10 is the best. And if you're going to take CoQ10, and if you're not taking it, you should consider taking it, because it's an incredible product. It's a notice, feel the difference product. There's so many health benefits to it. And for the birthday, we have extra special pricing. This is the first time we've been able to share it for the entire birthday visit. So let's talk about it. A 30, a 60, a 120, or a 240 size. Here is our everyday HSN pricing. You're saving 40, 20, 10, or $5. $119.90 is going to get you 240 capsules of the world's finest Coenzyme Q10 product. And the key to this, of course, it's a huge customer pick on hsn.com. So we love talking about it, but if you have a minute, go read those reviews. Again, thousands of perfect reviews. I just noticed it says 3,100, over 3,100 perfect 5-star reviews. Right. This is an ingredient that I first came in contact with in the early 1980s. And actually, when I first came in contact with it, it was manufactured in Japan. It was the only natural CoQ10 in the world. And because my company was so tiny, I had to convince them to sell me a small quantity to incorporate into our nutritional supplements, because I wanted to make a CoQ10 supplement as I make it here, where I combined it with other B-complex vitamins. Because I've always said, CoQ10 should be considered a B-complex vitamin, and it should be considered the most important of all the B-complex vitamins. The only reason it is not is because the other B-complex vitamins can't be made by your body. Your body can make a small amount of CoQ10, but your body cannot make an adequate amount of CoQ10. And as we get older, it's even more and more inadequate. So I think CoQ10 should be considered a B vitamin, the most important of the B vitamins, and it's involved in the most important aspect of energy production in the cell, which is the transport of the electrons, and the movement of that electron potential is the energy that we all experience as human beings. So CoQ10 goes to the very core of energy production in our cells, but at the same time, CoQ10 is among the most protective compounds you could ever consume. And leave it to Mother Nature, you know, that incredible God-given design that we all benefit from, that on one hand, it's critical for all energy production. On the other hand, it's one of the most protective molecules we could ever contemplate ingesting. And that's why you look at the reviews, it's right there with hair, skin, and nails, circulation, vein support, my essential omega-3, my most popular reorder products. And originally, CoQ10, a 200 milligram product, was about $2 per capsule. So today, the product is a fraction of what it cost when I introduced it in 1984, which is 34 years ago. So CoQ10 is a relatively new ingredient to most companies. I'd say the last 10 or 15 years at most. It's a product that I've been talking about for almost 35 years. That's it. Required for all energy production. I always love when Andrew used to talk about the fact that it's ubiquitous. It's literally found in every single cell. A cell can't be alive without it. Every cell of our body.
And it's funny that its name is ubiquinone, and ubiquinone coming from the word, the Latin root, ubiquitous, which means found everywhere. Like if you run into someone all over the place, you might say, gosh, you're ubiquitous. That would be a very, very good use of the word. But so ubiquinone is present in all tissues because it was observed to be present in all cells and all tissues. Little did they know when they defined it as such, they didn't understand the mechanism of ubiquinone at the time, that if it wasn't there, that cell couldn't be alive, because the thing I just talked about before, the electron transport that's responsible for the energy that's responsible for our existence, can't take place without ubiquinone. So it can't take place without CoQ10. So it's ubiquinone because it's ubiquitous and it's always found in these cells, because if it's not found in those cells are basically not alive. So the key to our existence, the key to, which is really energy. And one of the most common complaints when we go to see doctors, especially as we get older, is fatigue. And as I always say, before we start looking at complicated explanations for fatigue, we obviously all have enough calories on our body. We're not running short of calories on our body. And I always look to the machinery of how our body makes energy. I leave it to doctors to deal with the issues that they deal with that might be a cause of fatigue. But I look at the basic foundational chemistry of energy production in our body, which goes to the B-complex vitamins and goes to CoQ10. And that is why we have never made CoQ10 without the B-complex vitamins.
There you go. And it's found primarily in the hardest working organs in our body.
At the highest concentrations.
Heart, brain, liver, pancreas,
muscles.
kidneys. I mean, you think about the high concentration in those organs. That's why it's so important. I think this is another one. When we first started talking about it, we focused a lot on heart health, but the health benefits in general. It's one of those products, pretty much we all need to be supplementing CoQ10.
Isn't that even when you look at animal studies, and you look at animal studies that talk about extended lifespan when organisms are, and that would be a good animal study in my mind, when you're giving them something that actually enhances their health, and not in some other scientific research with using drugs and medicines, which we won't get into that whole discussion about animal studies. But just when you look at an ingredient like this, that's absolutely essential for energy production. And energy, again, is what defines the quality of our lives, your ability to do work. It defines our attitude. And as Colleen was just saying, if you look at the highest concentrations of CoQ10 in the tissues of our body, you're basically looking at the most energy-intensive tissues. So highest concentrations are found in the heart, in skeletal muscles, in say, our liver, in our brain. So the organs that we require to never stop working on our behalf, to constantly produce energy on our behalf, they require CoQ10.
That's it. I would love for you to treat yourself to this. This is a Notice the Difference product when you take it. You feel better when you take it. You definitely get a sense of energy and well-being when you take this product. It's outstanding. There's a lot of, it's funny because over 20 years ago when Andrew first started talking about CoQ10 on television, nobody had ever heard of it. Nobody had a clue what it was, and you had to really educate.
Oh, no,
I mean,
that
it was like ground zero. You had to really take us from the bottom up and explain to us why this is important to supplement. And now we're here 2 decades later. Most of you are familiar. You've heard about it. People talk about it. You read it in health magazines. You hear about it on different TV and radio health-oriented shows. I think we all understand the importance of supplementing CoQ10. If you're going to take CoQ10, Andrews is a product you want to take. It is the world's finest, because not all CoQ10 is the same. A lot of it is synthetic. A lot of it is not to this high standard. A lot of it is not to this high quality. So if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on CoQ, this is the product that we all, I think, would want to be taking.
You want it to work. You want it to be the best. Ours will not upset your stomach. It's easy to swallow, ultra-fine powder in a capsule. And one of the original reasons I really emphasize CoQ10, but beyond its role in protecting our bodies as a protective compound and energy production, was the most going back even about 10 or 15 years, quickly one of the most popular drugs were statin drugs for lowering cholesterol, and they still are. And if you look at how statin drugs work, and hopefully this will be easy to understand, the way our body produces cholesterol, it's a metabolic pathway. And there's something here it's called the mevalonate pathway. But there's an enzyme here called the HMG-CoA reductase. So that HMG-CoA reductase, statin drugs inhibit that enzyme. It interrupts this part of the metabolic pathway. And when it interrupts this metabolic pathway, it interrupts the production of two things, cholesterol and CoQ10. Because after mevalonate, we end up going to farnesyl, and farnesyl is an intermediate before you get to cholesterol and CoQ10. So when you're looking at the mevalonate pathway,